characters are going to appear in the series, but they didn't Suicide Squad sequels or anything like that. They just said other upcoming DC movies, DC HBO series. There'll be 8 episodes total. They haven't confirmed an absolute release date yet, but I think it's supposed to be the 2nd or the 3rd week in January. So it'll be kind of like WandaVision premiering in January this past year. And I will do episode videos for all the DC HBO
Look, I gave you some
series,
names
like
and I'm paying you to chase them down, so don't give me any of that bullshit.
That same situation.
Yeah.
I'm hoping in
Okay,
DC fandom
just get
they
it
confirm
done.
with the first Batman
Christ,
HBO
sometimes I think
series
you want
that
something
spin off
done
of
right.
the Robert Pattinson movie is going to premiere next year.
Right?
Because I don't think that Matt Reeves has even started filming that yet. And it basically is a Matt Reeves production, the same way that James Gunn did
Happier than I
Suicide
ever
Squad
seen him.
it is doing the
That money
Suicide
was supposed
Squad
to get him,
sequel
get
series.
all of us out from
The
under
real
the
big stuff
column.
that's happening this weekend will be the brand new Batman.
What the
Also,
hell
the
did
Flash
Frank
movie
tell you?
trailer with Michael Keaton's
Marcano
Batman
had
and
us
Ben
robbed the
Affleck's Batman.
reserves
We'll
so he
probably
could get his
see
hand
some
on a
footage
set
of
of
them
money plates.
and learn a little bit more
George
about
must
what's
have
going
grabbed
on
him
with the
during the
villain
robbery.
because of the flashpoint of it
I
all.
should've been paying
I've worked on a
attention.
couple
We already
videos
had this
about that, so I'll
conversation.
link them below in the
None of
description.
this is
Like, I've already
your
done a big
fault.
first look video for what Ben Affleck's character is going to look like as his
leech.
Batman.
He had
It will be
always
sad
intended to
if
fuck all of
Justice
you.
League's
Christ,
better
look
cut.
what he did
Even
to
though they
Peter.
get really technical about it, some of that stuff
He
is
murdered
not
his family.
supposed to be canon to the
The only
DCEU. I
way
think the
to
whole
make that
Nightmare
right is
scene,
by
they're
killing
considering
every
to not be
cocksucker
canon,
who's ever
but everything else with
looked
the
at that
epilogue
shit.
is canon to the DCEU. James Gunn also revealed that he's working on another new DC project, but he didn't say whether it's a movie or another HBO series. But he did say that it was not Peacemaker Season 2. It's some other DC project, so I'm assuming that it's a brand new movie. So post all your theories about what movie you think that's going to be, because they pretty much let him do whatever movie they wanted to. In fact, I've already done a video about this, but he said that when he first walked in, Superman was one of the movies that they discussed him doing. Either way, John Cena is going to be crazy in this Peacemaker series. I can't wait to see it. Make sure you have alerts enabled so you don't miss any of my trailer videos this weekend. And there's a couple of the really big videos that I'm working on right now. I'm trying to get them out as fast as possible. Everyone click here for that brand new Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy 3 Adam Warlock announcement and Easter eggs. And click here for that Flash movie first look video with Ben Affleck's Batman and all that new footage. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Happiness is here. Now, shop for anything you want at Rent-A-Center.com. Go on, get happy. Download the Rent-A-Center Instant Happiness app now and see how much you can get approved for.
We've come a long, long way together.
Every moment together is a gift. La vie est belle, l'encore.
Have aliens invaded Earth's ocean? Remember, most of our Earth's waters remain unexplored, at least by humans. Seamen, divers, and fishermen have sighted these alien crafts worldwide, and the descriptions are remarkably similar. They all detail technologically advanced objects far superior to anything we have ever built. Some of these undersea vessels are extremely fast. They can reach great depths, move from the sea straight up into the atmosphere and point down interstellar space. They have been witnessed for hundreds of years. Columbus claimed to see a bright pulsating ball of light illuminating on his voyage to America. Experts believe the mysterious crafts use the planet's oceans as hiding places, lurking deep under the water where humanity cannot go. Roughly 71% of the Earth's surface is covered by water, so it would be the perfect place for anyone wishing to avoid detection. At any depth in the sea, the weight of the water above pushes on any object below it. The deeper one goes, the more water overhead and greater weight pushing down. Submarines must have reinforced walls to withstand these immense pressures, but they are still constrained by this pressure. For example, a nuclear submarine can only reach depth of about 300 meters. Yet these extraterrestrial craft seem to withstand the incredible forces of water miles under the sea. So, again, the sea would make an ideal hiding place. Observers fear the launches are increasing in frequency. For all we know, they could be relaying scientific data or samples of Earth life forms to their home planet. They might even be resupplying their bases. Worryingly, they appear to be operating more and more openly, almost as if they're daring us to stop them. Interestingly, all of the leaked UFO videos have occurred over the sea. These include the Tic Tac UFO, first sighted off the San Diego coast in November 2004 by radar equipment from the USS Kingston. They were first recorded by Navy pilot Chad Underwood, who was sent to observe the phenomena from the nearby aircraft carrier USS Nimitz. These objects did not behave within the known laws of physics. They were uniformly spread out over 100 miles and dropped from 80,000 feet at sea level almost instantly, where they then hovered over a disturbance in the sea that resembled boiling water. Bizarrely, under the water, a larger object was sighted. It was described as cross-shaped and roughly the size of a Boeing 737 jetliner. Notably, according to Commander David Fravor, if an object is flying at Mach 3, which is 3 times the speed of sound, it will be visible. However, whatever is
Told you they were smart.
later,
So tonight, I sit here wondering how many fighters are out there hiding in
revealed
plain
something
sight. How many of you are willing to
the
look
object
back
was
and
calculated
reconnect with a past you may have never known?
100
There's a revolution going on here in Newport
with a
News.
G-force of
Time for
12,000.
each of you to pick a side.
No aircraft could survive airfreight at speed, and no human could endure such G-forces. Up to 14 historical UFOs were reported and monitored just off the coast of India by members of the USS Omaha in 2019. This time, they moved rapidly across the sea before stopping and descending into the sea. In the footage, an observer is heard saying, "Wow, it splashed." The ship's logs describe the object as repeatedly flashing.
Guess she trying to make sure you get your protein. So I guess she trying to make sure you get all your proteins.
We got anybody to hit this target in Southdown? Use some supplies here in Southdown.
Yeah, directly.
You want something? You let me know. Show me what you got.
I did tell you the address. Yeah, I did. I read it straight out of my planner. Right here. 1032 Eastman Street. 1032 Eastman Street. My other what? I'm sorry, I don't have those. I'm sorry, I don't have those. What the fuck you talking about? No, I don't. I get a new wife every. Shut up, babe.
found that they were picked up on electronic equipment, so confirms they were really solid objects. Furthermore, 18 of these vehicles offered speeds that far exceeded technological limitations. There is another sea dimension on top of what the pilot said.
Careful, asshole.
Maybe it's got one so far, hundreds of knots below. These objects and vehicles no longer being spotted. It's strange that nobody seems to be able to track them down after a sighting. From what we have heard so far, it seems they may be descending into the sea. But why descend into the sea? Is there something down there, like a base that we know nothing about? Where else could so many UFOs except some sort of underwater base? Where could these bases
Yeah, it's at 6 o'clock.
over the years?
6.
There's been a program of strange objects seen in the This is how US researchers feel that a submerged alien base must exist. Interestingly,
Grant Purdue.
I'm
I'm thinking.
How are you mixed up with Marcano's organization?
I own and run department stores. But with this economy, where I've got a lot of extra inventory, it seems to me, Grant, it's on show. You can take it off your hands.
You mean you let him rob you?
My truck. It was just supposed to be one time. I take the fall here. He never told me. I got the impression he was going to what do you call it?
Great, if I find your stuff, likely going up in flames.
Oh, whatever you have to do to stay party. My gosh, darn
No, I can't even say. If you gonna say it like that, then technically I have, because never, ever, while we dated, have you ever, or as long as I've known you, have you worn glasses?
In the meantime,
So,
you stay out of sight.
I really think you should see what all these guys know about my trucks.
I'm sweating. I low-key feel like I got found several anomalies around the island, which suggested artificial structures. There also appeared to be tunnels leading to other facilities and even to the mainland. According to one source, the U.S. Navy
I still can't believe Artie turned on me like that. Gosh darn it. Just goes to show you can't trust folks these days.
also reports strange sounds coming from the sea, similar to heavy machinery. You can do my bro. There is an underwater alien base off the coast. Furthermore, how lucky are you? He was quoted as saying, whatever these objects are, they descend deep.
I say very.
Puzzling sightings are not confined to ocean.
Oh, you say very. I said what?
Many have speculated about what phenomena is related to area. Multiple witnesses report UFOs diving into the lake's floor or continuously hovering over it. Hence, some researchers speculate this could also be the alien.
Oh, God, a lot of people coming around. Y'all want to hear it? What? You have it,
Yeah.
You're gonna tell me about Artie's hijacking racket. The boss had a huge
What's the
haul
deal,
he's been
guys?
trying to sell off. I know where it's gonna go down. My crew will be in touch.
UFOs seen crashing into the lake. The 2011 book, Eerie by
They're so cute. Time goes by so fast.
One report says a strange landing on the hotel.
As long as you don't use
That sound like on a ride pulling up.
You sound you stupid and everything, like you tired.
Yeah. I mean, I ain't got nowhere to be until 6 o'clock, so I'm not moving.
So you just relaxing?
Yeah, I wanted to go to the gym, but I really needed to be up and out and back.
Oh yeah, bro, you late. You was going to the gym, you're right, you late. It's 12:15, shot.
These crabs appear to be just as active as those since they are fun. As for what they are, we don't know yet. But what we do know is that these bizarre, gravity-defying objects have baffled experts worldwide.
Not luck. Got a system czar.
Now that a scrap is all grown up.
Because finally got all the rest of his case over with.
You're trying to what?
His case completely over with now.
Okay, how many times you gonna say that? You said that already a couple times.
Hold on, somebody ringing the damn doorbell. Hold on.
What is going on, Disney fans? My name is John Solo, and a week from today, Disney is releasing Cruella, the origin story for one of the most infamous, despised villains they've ever put on screen, Cruella de Vil, a obsessed sociopath who would happily strangle 800 puppies just to get a few compliments on the coat she makes from their birth. She's evil to the core with absolutely no redeeming qualities, unless you're into that sort of thing. And since Disney wanted to explore the origins of the show and what she could have possibly gone through to make her so psychotic, I thought I would explore the origins of the movies that made her so famous. The 1961 animated classic 101 Dalmatians and the 1996 live-action remake. You might be surprised to hear that both films were based on a full-length children's novel of the same name. It was written back in 1956 by Dodie Smith, who you probably won't be surprised to hear was obsessed with Dalmatians. One day when they were hosting a little get-together, her friends actually commented that the house made a lovely bird. Oh, definitely not a normal thing to say, but in this
That church is down in 5 Points, Ma. That big church on the corner. Hello? How you say what you say, babe? What, you heard me all the way in the house or something? I heard you say that. What you said, baby? And I was all the way in the house.
Oh, I didn't say nothing. I thought you was back my phone. I said you big baby, but you didn't answer. Which was my answer.
The villain of today's story is obsessed with what she wears, but there's a reason she's the villain. She had it all wrong. Sure,
Sandra told me to reach out. I certainly appreciate some
You know, Bill.
Yeah, Erica here. Dominique here to pick up Anna.
lucky son.
Dominique is here to pick up Anna.
Got a system czar.
Oh, I was gone already.
I decided to start my membership off with a strong foundation, essentials bundle. It came with a bunch of useful stuff for a desert dweller like myself, including hydrating face
face cleanser, body lotion, and, wait for it, sunscreen for the face. I also got these
Like this.
Return it for free and they'll send you something else. With how easy Hawthorne makes the process, there's no reason not to give them a chance. Go to hawthorne.co and take their quiz to get your personalized use promo code John Solo to get 10% off your entire first order. That's HAWTHO.co, promo code John Solo. Hawthorne.co, promo code John Solo. And we're back.
Hello.
So let's get started. If you haven't already, I would greatly appreciate that like button because it really does help the channel grow. Subscribe to have new messed up content like this delivered to your subbox every week. And now, messed up origins of 101 Dalmatians.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two things you should probably know before I start this breakdown. One, time out how long taking effort I am not doing it. The reason for that is, as a whole, the plots are pretty similar to the book, and I think would be tremendously redundant to explain the whole. So instead, I'm just going to break down the book story and point out the similarities and differences in the movie variants as we go along. And two, because I don't think I'm going to get very far before she tries to make them very I want to introduce you to the newest and fluffiest member of the Solo family. Everybody, meet Patty. We were originally going to follow in the Bill's footsteps, however, but it turned out to be your personal business. Get the actual dog named Penny in 101 Dalmatians, so pretty appropriate time for her to make her debut.
Get the police over here. Now, goddammit.
Any available unit. Reports of an armed Negro male in South Downs. Please investigate.
Chapter 1 opens by introducing the reader to Mongo and Mrs. Mongo, a married couple of dogs living in London who are owned by a married couple named Mr. and Mrs. Deere. Though according to Mongo and Mrs., the ownership goes the other way around. Now, as you can see, unlike both times where Mongo essentially makes a meet cute and hard on the first sight, this story starts with them being together, and their home life is quite a bit different than those versions. Instead of Mr. Deere being a struggling musician named Roger Ragnar, or bizarre, a struggling video game designer in America, he's described as a financial wizard who helped the UK government fix the national debt. As a result, was left a house and exempted from paying taxes. Also living in their house is their two childhood nannies, Nanny Cook and Nanny Butler, who are condensed into a single character simply called Nanny in both films. One day, while the couple takes a walk with Mongo and Mrs., they happen to run into
All units, search is called off. Repeat, abandoned search. Return to patrol.
Now, don't get me wrong, that is a crazy thing to do, but it explains the cartoon she's her boss and get out where I can see you. It's actually Anita sketching that inspires Cruella to make a Dalmatian code in the first place. The dogs in person. As for the cartoon, she seems to know about the puppies before she even makes her first appearance, being that she barges into the house and starts frantically looking around for them like I do whenever I lose my wife in the grocery store. So after ruining the happy couple's afternoon walk and seeing their beautiful Dalmatians, Cruella insists that they follow her inside her house and meet her husband. He's a furrier, and it's to him she makes the extremely appropriate comment, "Wouldn't those dogs make excellent fur coats?" Now, for reasons I can't explain, her husband character is left out of the cartoon. However, in the live-action film, we put Skinner in his place. He's not married to Cruella, but he is the guy who makes all of her clothes. Name's Roger, like in the movies, forced to go to a dinner party at Cruella's where everything tastes like pepper, and then, because they're polite, they invite them to their house for dinner. Really, though, because the pregnant Mrs. Mongo is running late, everyone leaves except for Cruella, who demands to see the puppies. Only when she sees them, she is horrified to see they don't have any spoons, since they all must be drowned at once, just like she drowns the kittens of her Persian cat, because she's always mating with children. Yeah, we're only 2 chapters in, and this nut job is already bragging about drowning kittens. You guys are in for a ride even wilder than Mr. Toads. Anyway, Corella is kicked out, and Mrs. goes out with 15 puppies that night. And just like in the movies, one of them almost dies and Daily gently massages it toward air into its lungs. At least I think that's what he was doing. It was either that or dark magic. Now, while it isn't likely, it's actually not uncommon for Dalmatians to himself experience for a foster mother to help with the feeding, and it's here that we're introduced to Perdita. See, in the movies, Perdita and Mrs. are condensed into a single character and named Perdita, which I think makes sense for that. In the book, the entirety of Chapter 3 is about the search for Perdita and her backstory. Basically, she was a farmer's dog who ran away from her home in the country to find herself a husband. Then once in town, she came across a rather handsome liver-spotted Dalmatian, and it was love at first sight. Tracked them down and dragged them back to their respective homes.
Anybody to hit this door upside down?
So beautifully, the farmer sold them without her knowledge. When Perdita woke up to find her puppies missing, she left home to find them. She was covered with puppies. It wasn't until Mrs. Gears almost filled her car that she was rescuing them on home. Or should I say, from to a new home. And in quite the plot twist, because Perdita was so covered in puppies, she didn't even realize she was a Dalmatian.
I want to be no classroom caregiver. That's all.
Originally gone to her own babies.
Be around babies sometimes, they don't sound
developing spots as well as their personalities and are given names to reflect that. The prettiest pup was the small one that Mr. Dearly saved, and they called her Cat Pig because that's another name for the runt. And called her Lucky, which is a bit confusing because Lucky is a separate dog in the book and actually the smartest of them all. Though he does have a horseshoe of spots, like in the book. Other puppies include a little
I learned that about people babies.
and Pat, whose ears are almost black, along with one side of his face, which apparently makes him less valuable. So in both movies, Corella makes a big show of trying to find her when she's knocked down.
I'm through with all of you. I'll get even. Just wait.
Oh, we got time to let the big sign for you.
You idiot!
Now, about that motherfucker, you know what?
You'll be sorry. You fool!
Then, after being rejected, her cronies, Horace and Jasper, force their way into the house when the Dearlys aren't home and lock the nanny away while they make off with the pups. In the book, she's a lot more subtle with her plan. Instead of loudly swearing revenge when her attempt to buy them is turned down, she simply visits the house when the Dearlys and Nanny Butler are out on a walk and distracts Nanny Cook while her cronies stall Jasper Button and steal the pups from the fenced-in backyard where they were playing. Now, the story is that Mr. Dearly puts big, expensive ads for the missing dogs in the newspaper, which helps spread awareness. But when those ads don't result in Congo resorts to the one dog's bark can set off an entire neighborhood of dogs. The way it goes down is that Pongo and Mrs. take their pets for a walk while Perdita hangs out with the nanny. So when they get to the top of a hill, they mark the nanny dogs within earshot to let them know their puppies are missing. The dogs here, which in this case is Perdita, just like in the cartoon, pass it along. And in just a few hours, 480 dogs have relayed the message 60 miles out from London. The following night, a sheepdog known as the Colonel, who had heard the twilight barking and knew all about the missing puppies, was so having to be walking by four abandoned mansions in Suffolk when a white phone with SOS card landed in front of him. After sending his friend Cat into the mansion to see what was up and almost getting her killed in the process, he reported to him that the house was seething with
I didn't think Gary Coleman's name was Anthony.
Cartoon, we're sort of left to assume they don't receive the message until late in the night, and in the next scene, the great nanny. There's an awkward house, full view of everyone. Serious question though.
My child that trying to go to a little
A
bit.
house with that setup. Were those a real thing at one point, or was this part of the movie universe that Disney made up? Anyway, back to the Twilight Parking, since Mrs. couldn't make it all out. The place where their puppies were found is called which means their puppies were most likely actually Mrs. hear this, but it gives her the strength.
I think I might wait till my second break.
Hit this target in South Downs.
You got it. We'll be around shortly.
So the next few chapters
Like my third nickel
countryside.
Get on down, now!
They are not
It's going to take a long time.
right down. Not to mention, there isn't much to compare.
I'm just not sure now what I want to do. I don't want to be decided
Is a bird helping them cross an electric fence.
That was terrible. That's a job.
That was goddamn slick!
You know what?
Getting our asses kicked!
And not only that, you know we have those type of jobs. You are mandated reporter. So typically, if you see something, you're supposed to report this shit.
Our asses kicked!
Little kid throwing blocks at Pongo, featuring his leg.
Now what are you
By the
gonna
beginning
do?
of chapter 10, they finally run into the same tabby cat and found their puppies.
Oh, they ain't going to do
She
it.
had reports that she just saw
Right.
yesterday that there was 5 little
Hey,
cats ever.
oh, man. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, okay, that's it. Okay.
Which gave the house a look similar to a
And they want boy, it's always what they do. Oh, wait.
Man, but instead was a grizzly updates them on everything he knows about this movie. It's here that we get a little history lesson on Hell Hall, people's ancestors.
We getting shot up!
Was converted into a castle, but he'd only gotten so far as to build the outside wall with the villagers from the nearby town scared over the screams and maniacal laughter that came from behind the gate. So they formed an angry mob and planned to suddenly came out of nowhere and put all the torches out. Then the gates flew open of their own accord, and the village through them while emitting 4 blue lightning. Naturally, everyone freaked out and ran away, and no one returned the property, including the original DeVille. The family still owns the place, but Corella allows the Baddens to live there rent-free in exchange for maintaining it. Something I'm not very confident they do. Now, Pongo and Mrs. actually fell asleep to that little history lesson, but they're suddenly woken up at the sound of puppies barking because the Baddens had finally let them into the gated yard for playtime. Only something was a bit wrong. There wasn't just 15 puppies, there was close to 100. And here's where the Pongos come to understand the full extent of this rescue mission. It wasn't just about their puppies anymore. Puppies and other puppies.
Very generous. I think this episode again, she came back with Swisher. She said,
least working fashion. So with the Pongos now fully aware of her scheme to turn every donation
we're trying to steal cars for real.
higher
Who is removing the credit for a minimum by 84 long car? Hey, so much is going to need a film?
Yeah, somewhere in there, yeah.
From these dogs, she has to wait for them to grow in size, which means they're safe for the time being. Just like how the animated
I think I got 5 years.
in particular, a show called What's My Crime, these Baddens are the exact same way. So the Colonel wanted to continue watching over the pups from a safe distance in order to wait for them to grow big and strong enough to make the journey home.
About 7 years, somewhere in there, close to.
Outside to train them for the journey ahead. It's a solid strategy that Pongo and Mrs. really appreciate because they're able to reunite with their pups and enjoy some quality time before making the break. Except they don't get a few hours into their reunion, Corella shows up at the house and tells the minions to on their trail after killing the puppies. This is one that both films were surprisingly faithful to. The books, the Baddens ask she says, poison them, drop them, hit them on the head. Have you any clue about the martyr? And Saul responds, no touch bones. Meanwhile, the movies go down like this. We got the duty.
Anyway, you like poison and crumble. Bash them in the head. Tiny claw.
It'll be 3 years. It'll be 3
Crazy, right? Movies like this are peppered in all throughout both films, though in this specific instance, the live-action version proceeds to go off in its own direction. What I mean by that is by the time Cruella even makes the call to the Skinner, the puppies are being rounded up and escorted out by the Allies. Meanwhile, the bad guys just get their asses kicked for the rest of the entire movie. Sorry, I try not to swear in my Disney videos, but that's exactly what happens. The baddies fall through floors, get hypothermia, fall balls first onto an electric fence. The Skinner literally has a chunk bitten out of his ass, and Cruella, well, she gets it worse than anybody, from being kicked by a horse to being catapulted into a pig pen. And you know what that's filled with. Also, no joke, up until I started working on this episode, the only thing I remembered about this movie is the one clip where Cruella falls into a vat of brown stuff, because it always played in the trailer. I've spent my entire life wondering what that brown stuff was, and now I know it's molasses, which is even scarier than anything I could have imagined. See what I mean? Those air pockets, man, that freaks me out. As for the cartoon and book, though, after Cruella gives her orders to execute the pups and leaves, the Baddids decide to wait until after they watch their favorite show, What's My Crime, which I guess is supposed to be a parody of an actual game show called What's My Line. And this gives our hero puppies enough time to be escorted out of the house by their parents. And it's actually funny. Look, Lucky is the most intelligent of his siblings, so the Colonel puts him in charge of disciplining them and teaching them to follow orders. But in the cartoon, Lucky replaces Dad, and he almost dies and then grows up not only being the most obsessed with TV, but his everlasting love for those moving pictures is almost.
I got on her little black dress.
In fact, he's having to screw up in the 1996 version as well. After the other puppies made their escape, he's left behind as he needs to be considered at the last minute.
Listener, we are back with this city's own Senator Walter Jacobs. The Senator, you know, before the break, I didn't know you'd be able to speak. You were so worked up over
I done got her little dress on. It is black.
You're absolutely right, Remy. Urban City. You are witnessing history in the making. Remy Duvall is at a loss for words. Well, in all my days, I never thought I'd hear
What's the significance of what? Like, in your words.
You're right, Remy. Well, it happens. No, not very often, though.
I mean, that kind of was a homegirl. I mean, they had got cool.
We got to that argument by some of our more liberal constituents with this bill should be taught in our schools. They're claiming it's their First Amendment rights to teach it.
The Dalmatians sheltered in the next few days. They're about a half mile out from their next stop where they run into gypsies, which is concerning because gypsies were known as no more than Dalmatians were one of their favorites. After spotting them, Dalmatians alongside them on horse and puppies were the primary mode. So the horses in the field spy one and unlock the gate of the field for the gypsies. Dalmatians can come out the other side. This puppies don't even escape. You remember that part of the movie with the Dalmatians?
Yeah. My
favorite part of the game on Windows 98. Well, they also down disguises in the book, but it's just a good sweeps. They slowly make their way to the next shelter in a barn. At least the pups thought it was a barn. In reality, they realize that because even though all dogs go to heaven, they don't necessarily understand the concept of religion. The dogs approach the next village. The runs out to meet them and says the bakery where they were going to be staying, and that was also filled with their food, is currently on fire and they have nowhere to go. And to make things worse, from a distance, the Dalmatians see Cruella standing on top of her car, cheering the fire on like the maniac she is. As they're walking along the main road in complete view of anyone who drives down it, Pongo tells Perdita he'll need some kind of miracle to stay hidden, and not long after, presents himself in a moving truck. They're just so happens to be a Staffordshire
Pain down, pain is the down, yes.
Explains their situation. The owner lets them all inside since they're dark enough that the owners won't see them. Now, would be remiss if you also after where Congo, Misses, and all 97 of their puppies are forced to close their eyes as Cruella drives down the road and passes the truck. Otherwise, she would see 99 pairs of eyes reflecting her headlights back at her. It's a totally different kind of intensity compared to the movie scene where the villain Maddox tried chasing the van down and he was running it off the cliff before crashing into each other. The Doty does an amazing job of stretching this movie out so you're just waiting in suspense, not knowing if one of the pups is going to screw the whole thing up. Fortunately, they all follow their father's orders and close those keys up tight, and not long after, the movers return to the van and start driving back to work. Coming back to the report, the Miracle on Wheels brought them safely across the 50 or so remaining miles of the journey, and after sneakily making their way out of the van, the Staffordshire trapped over on Mrs. leading way back to Regent's Park where the deer was led. On their way, though, they came across Corella's house, where they also happened to run into her Persian cat. You know, the one that won't stop getting pregnant and basically forces Corella to drown 44 of her kittens. Yeah, that one. Well, it turns out that cat has been holding a grudge for a while and knew all about the Chief Demon's plot to make Dalmatian coats. And because she's such a cool cat, she invites all 99 of them inside to get some revenge while Corella is at a dinner party somewhere. Using skills he learned from the Colonel, I was able to unlock the door to the room filled with all the coats Mr. DeVille had made over the years, and the dogs and cat proceed to tear them to shreds. So satisfying. The dogs were able to sneak out just before Corella and her husband got back, but they lingered around.
Are you ready to create my Facebook page?
They both started coughing
baby.
from all the dander that was in the air, and when they realized what happened, Corella shrieked like a banshee. All the dogs didn't hear those.
The second logo is the one that I want to use on my retail
a
product.
little bit differently. The 1996 version.
Yeah, I mean, you would need something like two logo. Like two logos is not too much, especially when you're talking about creating a website or a Facebook page.
You're a champ, aren't you? Look at this guy.
I don't necessarily want me, which, you know, I don't necessarily want that on my product.
Right.
Don't worry, won't take me long to find it.
I'm glad you're going after him. No one raises his voice at Grant Perdue, but the nerve.
Word to the wise, don't get involved in
I don't want to tell you how to do what you do, but if artists are
These finally realized they had themselves a Christmas miracle. Their dogs made it home. And a fun little twist is that Perdita's 8 puppies who were taken from her in the beginning were among those 97 pups they rescued. Also, Corella's cat just shows up and says she's going to live with the Dearleys.
Baker, you should do something about it.
On the DeVille household. Apparently, most of the coats that were destroyed weren't paid for yet, so Corella and her husband were financially ruined and had to leave London to escape their debts. Their new business plans for Mr. DeVille to make the plastic.
You want it today, friend? Just so y'all know, these folks are really not for y'all.
You might have been thinking, but what if you include the parents and Perdita, that's still only 100. Well, check this.
They're not for y'all.
Basically, an epilogue is where the missing piece.
Think about what you're gonna do.
I just share with y'all.
They solve this problem.
By the way, Sophia got on stage at the radio show and apologized to Mario off the same day for a while. You ain't, but you ain't did.
So when both
report to assault at Frisco Field.
Spies Roger and
Groupon is trying to steal this goddamn Sweat and Butter Brown and Monday night. The other one, 2 years, Kimber concert. We got them 20 more at this point. And this one also got out there tickets for the butter.
Right.
There's one birthday though. And my mom my wheelchair on Saturday. Early Saturday morning, so I'm like, you really gonna drag us out of town for one day?
Yesterday,
The presidential
candidate is referring to Hunter's belief that crime is caused by unemployment.
With the Nearlies because they saw how happy he ate their Nathan. And the
Girl, I don't want to go with you.
addition to the family.
The
You
scenes
take
are
them kids and go.
Said London got practice at 3:30. Oh, Sunday.
On Sunday, the 24th. Your mom was telling you that they were trying to come up with a mandatory day. And I was like, dang, I really wish they would have picked this Saturday. That would have been perfect. But I guess they didn't work. The team is pretty big. The team got almost 30 girls. So I guess honestly, they don't want whatever. And then I saw that they were coming out the 22nd because the team's out of school. And I was like, no, because I still got to get my state cup.
Yeah.
I didn't plan on taking off that Friday because it's our actual birthday. Birthday Saturday. And then she had on her birthday too. So she had the 16th, the 22nd, and the 23rd. People kept thinking, people either pick the 16th or the 23rd. I was like, and then she just came over the 24th. I was like, okay, I guess.
However, I do want to talk about the impact that
Just leave it that Sunday. I just told her I wasn't coming. I was like, yeah, they have a form. And I still couldn't technically make it through, but I'd be late. Late.
most families just couldn't take care of them. So they were
I was like, what you doing Saturday? We can work out Saturday and talk business. Talk about all the way. Girl, you got it, girl.
Report to an armed Negro male in South Downs. Please investigate.
I know, she got to realize that she also got to take on other crimes. I get it, but if anything, you don't need me. Be innovative. Get you a tripod and record yourself doing some of these exercises. Get a tripod, I guess because I'm one of your clients. But you gotta start other places and try to build that clientele and just wait on me for everything.
Watching, and if you made it to this point, comment your thoughts about the story and your favorite dog breed down below. I know, they're all amazing, but you've got to have a favorite. Also, this episode took a lot of work. I had to put 101% of my brain power into this thing. So if you'd be so kind as to hit those like and subscribe buttons, that'd be pretty
The same way I'm sitting in my head thinking about how to be innovative. Because it's about consistency at this point. So I just need to start making more live videos and going live. People like when you go live for some weird reason.
Yeah, they just sitting there like they like sitting there looking at you and staring and shit. Being all weird. People just like sitting there looking at you and staring and shit, being all weird, don't never really say nothing. Some people interact, you know what I mean? Yeah, it is. You can tell by the people that be on. I mean, I'm talking about when I be going live too. It's 60, 70 people that ain't nobody saying nothing, and I'm asking interactive questions and shit. I done had lives like that. I done had lives where people don't know how to shut up in my comments.
Might jump around 12, 15, depending on what's up, what time of day, what I look like, because I really have no advice. There's something about, if you get on camera and you shoot, clearly people are going to get on there. If you just everyday regular, which I'm going to be everyday regular more than I'm going to be cute. Yeah.
I can't really say that because Ray, you be getting on there looking crazy now, but that's because people know she do makeup, so you'll get on there and do a makeup tutorial. But she,
that's what you build an audience. Once you build an audience and a following, they're gonna get on regardless of what you do, right?
And Kamaria said the little girl had stopped coming to school like a week before the lady died, though.
So today we're talking about chapter 77 of the manga, and this is our last chapter.
Well, when my grandma died,
The fight pretty much ended.
I was out of school. Listen, before Lucy died, because I had to take care of Lucy while Anna worked. We couldn't afford a caregiver. I had to sit at home with my grandma, change her diaper, feed her. So I was out of school for 90 days. So.
Now, it even says here in chapter 76, she says, Vegeta was about to reach Snail by the conclusion. Granolla's adopted father, Monaito, interesting to use the word adopted father. So I didn't know they were actually that
close. No shit, Sherlock. But you know, then they weren't locking up the parent like they do now. They was locking up the child. So yeah. No, they ain't start that shit until after I got out of school. They ain't locking no parent up. They taking your dumb ass to jail because you don't want to do what you supposed to do.
The father of Sea Warrior Bardock, father of Sea Warrior Bardock, the Lonely. It was a long end, and I don't want to go through it right now. Anyways, Bardock, the father of Goku, was the name that Funimation chose.
Yeah, they lock up the parent now.
But so having all that is not really like, oh, they're using the same name again. They're really not. So let's get into some of these draft pages here. Monaito, the backstory of what's going on here. Here's like this is 40 years ago. So this thing flashback. Chapter's going to begin with the backstory. So I thought maybe we'd have a situation where Monaito would kind of calm Granolla down and they would all like maybe sit around the campfire and tell the story. I guess they're going right to the flashback. And I guess what's going on here is that Granola's interpretation of what he thought happened with the Frieza Force is not what actually happened. There's actually more to the story than he was willing to reveal. And, or that he knew about this, because Granola was a kid, he obviously had memory issues or whatever the case, or didn't even know. We know that in the last chapter, we saw that his mom was with him in the final days of Planet Serial. But, here's the story. So it looks like what's going on here is we have the Namekians on Planet Serial, not many of them. And this
not saying it right, but I mean, I get it if she was out of school probably a week before then.
Or maybe Granola's mom. It's hard to tell. Leave a comment down below if you think it's his mom, because you know it kind of looks like her, but difficult to say. Yeah, and as you can see right here, on the mail to the left there, there's these ships arriving. You know, the Namekians look up and see there's an invasion about to happen. So the Namekians has arrived. Here we
I'm sure they noticed.
And Frieza space pod landing. As you can see right here, the crater. This is actually like a visual representation of what the invasion looked like. And here's the pods opening up. This looks like a great scene. I cannot wait for this to get animated at some point because it's gonna look awesome. Like seeing this animated is gonna look great because it's going to really show, like, you know, like just the image of all the ships landing, like and all the scenes. Look great if they do it right. Especially if Shintani's on board for that, if he should be involved. And you know, the Namekians are all confused. And here come the Great Apes and, you know, the Ozarus. There's an army of them. They're all in trouble. Here we have Frieza's forces coming down.
know, many of those characters are recognizable.
That's all funny.
But the invasion here begins. This is a great visual.
I almost watched it and watched those 40 games, you know, before I
I asked you to watch it with me. That because people looked at it like a movie. It's a series, so it ended like that for a reason. It wasn't pointless and stupid. It ended, and I'm not going to spoil it, but it ended like that, open-ended for a reason, because there's another season coming. Damn, I rhyme.
It looks like Bardock here. I guess protecting.
You could have been doing so many different things, but you weren't doing nothing.
I'm gonna put it to you like this. I guess what he mean by that is, right, the dude won the prize money, so yeah, he could have been doing a whole lot of other things. Bro, you just watched 455 people die. It took that man a year to get his mind back right. It tells you it was a whole year time lapse. It took him a whole year to get his mind back right.
And it says here the truth behind the horrific event that's
I'm just saying. Oh, it's a whole, like, you got two different type of people that looked at the show in two different type of ways. People that looked at it on the surface level, and people that actually looked at the layers being peeled back. Like, there's a whole character arc. Like, bruh. That's...
We're going to see the other half. See the other half of the planet and the other half of what's really going on.
Yeah, it is. Like, and when I first saw it, I saw it on episode 4. And I was like, whoa, what is this? Because what the hell going on here? And he was like, yeah, man, this shit called Squid Game. So I came back to the house because I was just coughing and bopping, and I went back and watched the first 3 episodes. And then, like, the next day, I went back and watched episode 4 from the beginning.
I'm not a fan of that bar.
You need a weekend though, because it's 3 hours. They an hour long. Ain't no 30 minutes.
Did some odd jobs. I got arrested once or twice for fighting. I was kind of new going into seminary.
Be done by that. Yeah.
Once I was done with seminary,
prime example, like on a good old Saturday, you can start that morning and actually be done in enough time. Well, yeah, you can start that morning and still be done in enough time to go out somewhere.
I loved it.
Right up here or over there. Okay, sorry about that.
We did a whole week, nigga.
At Hilton,
So we got 2 weeks in. I had said it before you did, but
of letting go. That feeling of calm.
a couple months.
That I can do anything.
Yeah, a couple months.
Some real nice items and just
The magic of that just arrived feeling. That everything is the new memory feeling. That vacation is on feeling. Book now at Hilton.com. To new memories, Hilton, and our family of brands. Your memories is here.
Good one, man. I'm finna go have me a drink.
And trips
You all know the funny part about that video? Hippos normally don't swim, so they sink to the bottom, so they usually just walk along the lake.
I got an idea right away.
I don't know what the hell got Motomoto so motivated, but all I saw was patience. Hippos aren't just the most aggressive animals, they're one of the most homicidal things to ever be in place. Not only can they clap crocodiles in half, these money or swim animals that are looking zero points. This hippo straight up dominated antelope for no reason other than I guess the poor animals breathing too loud and the hippo throat. Also, this is what happens when the lion tests a hippo's hood. They have one of the most devastating overbites of any animal with a bite force of about 2,000 pounds of force, respectfully. If you've ever seen one hit a watermelon, you already knew that. In an area full of elephants, hippos are the most one-sided, they like people not can't help you think that well, if you're watching this video, community guidelines hasn't taken my ass yet. You probably want to know what in the hell this X-rated Pokemon is. It's the Nerdy, also known as a ribbon worm, and that nonsense you just watched is how they hunt. The worm shoots out its concentrations, only to end the nightmare by putting it back into its mouth. The proboscis is a long tube used for eating that normally sits in the worm's guts, but when it wants to catch a body, it forces the proboscis out of its mouth. Some of them are branched just like how can go into your intelligence. This one looks like a busted. We're not incredibly dangerous to people, but they're no cat. It's a sign of stress. You don't want to stress over it, and you don't want to look like someone that's
Okay, baby. I'll probably still be here at the house by the time we can go on break again. So.
That is the biggest shell jockey in the world.
Okay.
This turtle can max out at 7 feet long and violate the scales at 1,500 pounds. For reference, that's about as heavy as some American male bite. The largest leatherback ever found was on Harlem Beach in Wales, which was almost 9 feet long and 26 feet. That's not the year. That's how much the turtle weighed. 2,016 pounds, or 914 kilograms for those of you that aren't American or use the metric system. Which is really just saying not American twice. Even though they're built like a refrigerator with flippers, they can reach speeds of 22 miles per hour while swimming. And you might be wondering why an animal that big would ever need to move that fast. This is why. Yeah, this too. But if they can avoid tiger sharks, homicidal Oreo dolphins, or worst of all, people, leatherbacks can live for 70 to 80 years, and some even hit the century mark. You'd be surprised how long you live when you stay calm and mind your own business. I already know what you're thinking, but two things. One, that is 100% a female, and two, that's not a... This isn't what it looks like. Hyenas live in female-dominated societies where having a boner is actually a sign of weakness. If two hyenas in a clan interact, the hyena that ranks lower in the hierarchy is the one that will stand at attention. This usually happens between two hyenas. Basically, hyenas take feminism so far that getting bricked up is considered an act of submission. Also, that pseudo thing that I'm not allowed to say because of guidelines is actually another thing that I'm not allowed to say. I'm just going to call it obliterus. Because nature has something against hyenas, females have to give birth to that obliterus. And it's an incredibly painful process for the mother, the cub, anybody watching, and it's bad for everyone involved. Moral of this video, if you ever pickle out in front of a hyena, according to hyena culture, you're basically hitting. But if you do get difficult in front of a hyena, you might have bigger personal issues to work on. Good luck. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of thought we already knew about elephant blues, but I can give you something much, much worse. Have you ever seen a dolphin's rack? Because if you have, you're a liar and you really know what that. You're a liar because a dolphin's milk-giving area is found inside openings on either side of its anus. Not only that, but a dolphin's nipular area is actually inverted. To get the milk in, live, the baby dolphin will stick its beak inside her mammary slit and then gently nudge the mother, who will proceed to squirt the milk into the baby's mouth. One of these days, guidelines is going to get tired of my shit. The people that get triggered by public breastfeeding better be glad we're nothing like dolphins, because if we were, it would actually be a felony. Laws would be broken and childhoods would be ruined. To be fair, dolphins only live like this because they're stuck underwater, and the mother can control when she ejects the milk so she doesn't waste it out in the ocean. Also, dolphin milk has high fat content, meaning it can pass through water and not get dissolved before it reaches the baby. Some milk is oily, bitter, and not very sweet taste too. I don't know how we know that. Baby dolphins will drink mama's milk for 2 to 3 years, which probably explains why dolphins are menaces. Like when you spend that much time feeding right next to an asshole, it's only fair that you become one. You are what you eat. There's being down bad, and there's being this beetle. So the flower beetle, right? The competition for beetles is so high that it causes males to do some of the most down atrocious things I've ever heard of. Because male flower beetles are bisexual, half the time they're mating, they're actually mounting another male. They'll even go as far as to release inside. But there's actually a reason for this. Basically, by injecting another male with their own baby maker, that male makes the female, it's possible that the love to the first male will get you. Meaning it's possible for a male to not go female this competition into a walking spank game. And believe it or not, a lot of male insects actually swim the other way, but not by choice. A lot of times insects can't tell the difference between a male and a female, and in an evolutionary sense, you're actually better off mating with as many as your kind as possible, even if you get it wrong sometimes and you are being stingy and possibly missing out on an opportunity. Also, don't ask me how I got this picture, I'm not proud of it. But none of that compares to the depths of hell the flower beetle goes through. Follow me on Instagram. You know there's a type of dog that'll run away with tigers. Eat the dole. It's a wild canid found all over Asia, but especially India, Tibet, and Pakistan. They roll in packs of 5 to 12, and it can be up to 30 of them. They're more social than wolves, and because they're less common, they're less territorial and much more higher. They hunt prey by running them down, biting their nose, and forcing them to the ground. Sometimes they'll go for the eyes and blind their victim, but once they have them down, they'll rip their stomach open and disembowel them. Since they don't mercy kill like cats, it can take up to 15 minutes for the prey to make it to God's door, but by then the doors are already ready. On a wholesome note, they prioritize the weakest and youngest members. Because their grocery list is almost the entire birds with legend and tigers on t-shirts. They are exactly what chihuahuas think they are. Love to jump tigers and force them into the trees. Since the tiger can erase a goal, that's why the dogs only act tough when they have the squad behind them. They've also been known to straight up punk leopards out of food. But don't get it twisted. If a leopard or a tiger catches a doe slipping, it's curtains. But these individuals will might not like me for this one. It might hurt some feelings, but it needs to be said. This guy right here, the honey badger, yeah, he's not a real badger. Honey badgers are part of the Mustelidae family, meaning they float to this and cook at us otters, skunks, weasels, wolverines, and actual badgers. But the specific genus they're in is Mellivora, which makes them scientifically one of a kind, because they're the only member. And if you look at the family tree, you'll see the honey badger right there on the Celine Dion, all by himself. That group right there has the Japanese badger, the Asian badger, and the European badger. The American badger is right there, but they're not closely related to other badgers, because there's one thing Americans insist on is being different. But the honey badger's nowhere near either of them, meaning they're not closely related to badgers. As for how they got their name, the Navy guy lied in the job application, and it shows. This is probably why snow leopards aren't actually leopards. Also, when you compare honey badgers to true badgers, it's not hard to find the imposter. So then what is it? Well, some believe his closest relative is this weasel-like animal called a marten. So when you hear me call this dude a Falmy ferret or a roy weasel, I'm kind of being serious. This black Air Force is closer to being a honey marten than an actual honey badger. It had to be said, I'm not apologizing for it. On Facebook, about Australia, if I'm the way y'all tagged me in that video, I guess it's my job to explain this 4-year-old flavored body snatcher race. Gophlenia armata is a striped sea anemone, the largest type of anemone found off the coast of Ireland, and will tell you know exactly where it is. But bro had the right idea. The only thing you need to remember is to stay the God-fearing away from this thing, because not only can they sting you, it can take months for you to heal. Keep in mind that anemone are part of the Cnidaria family. I'm not even finna lecture you. The only names you need to remember are jellyfish and man o' war because those is cousins. Their tentacles have papillae which are covered in large explosive stinging cells called nematocysts, which will introduce themselves to your skin if the satanic Pokemon feels threatened. The tentacles end with a swollen tip that's also covered in excruciatingly painful venom. The difference between this thing and your ex is bro hits you with just a tip, you'll actually feel it. I actually love Australia, but y'all are really one of one.
I've seen how cancer can affect the people I care about. That's why I'm helping protect myself against some cancers, like certain cancers caused by HPV. For most people, HPV clears on its own, but for those suffering the virus, it can cause certain cancers. Gardasil 9 is the only vaccine that helps protect adults to age 45 against certain diseases caused by including cervical, vaginal, vulvar, anal, and certain head and neck cancers, such as throat and back of mouth cancers, and genital warts. Gardasil 9 doesn't protect everyone, and it does not treat cancer or HPV infection. Your doctor may recommend screening for certain HPV-related cancers. Women still need routine cervical cancer screenings. You shouldn't get Gardasil 9 if you've had an allergic reaction to the vaccine, its ingredients, or are allergic to yeast. Tell your doctor if you have a weakened immune system, like pregnant, reactions, headache, fever, also adult pharmacist about caramelized pears and candy pecans. I'm Chef Trent, and you're watching Public Safety's Cooking School Online. Alright, so we're going to start with our candy pecan. We have a large mixing bowl here that we're just going to add an egg white to, and also a little bit of water. We're going to vigorously whisk this with a balloon whisk. So we're just going to incorporate the air. You're going to see the consistency and volume change a little bit the more you vigorously whip, as you can see there. We're going to stop there. We're going to add a quarter cup of sugar.
The world is one big mysterious place. Seriously, there's so much stuff that we don't even understand. Today, we will be discussing some of these things, from spontaneous human combustion to fireballs shooting out of rivers. Let's talk about this and more only in today's video. Top 10 strange events that humans can't explain. Hey everyone, what's up, and welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. I'm your host, Lindsay Ivan, and before we begin, why don't you check out my new channel? It's called Peach. Go ahead, check it out. It's a fun time. And then you can also smash that like button and subscribe to this channel. That being said, let's start the video. Starting off this countdown, we have the Teos hum. Back in the early 1990s, residents of the town of Teos in north-central New Mexico started hearing a weird humming noise. Since then, more and more people have also heard this weird noise. They describe it as a mysterious and faint, low-frequency hum in the desert air. Now, only 2% of the residents have actually reported hearing this noise. Some believe that it's a result of mass hysteria, like one person heard it and then people were just freaking themselves out, being like, oh my god, I think I hear it too. Or they think it's the government spying on them or blasting them with some weapon. Now, equipment was set up and tests were done to see if they could detect this noise. And after a lengthy investigation, nothing was found. So, is it all in their heads? Or is the government up to something? Coming in at number 9, we have the dancing plague. This is the scariest thing I have ever heard of, I swear. So in 1518, the citizens of France were plagued by a weird illness. Basically, it caused them to dance uncontrollably and unwillingly for days. This lasted for 2 months until it just randomly stopped. It all started in July of 1518 when a woman named Miss Trophia started to begin dancing. She was unable to stop and kept dancing until she passed out. When she woke up, she continued to dance for days. Then suddenly it happened to 30 more people. Eventually, around 400 people were a victim to this weird dancing plague. In fact, it killed a couple people per day and injured hundreds. Now, there are a couple of theories as to why this happened. 1, they were all possessed by a demon. 2, they had overheated blood. Or 3, theory goes that they ate bread made from rye flour that was contaminated with ergot. Those things cause people to convulse. However, these are only theories. This mysterious case has never been solved. And does anyone know about that creepypasta about the song and dance man? Doesn't sound like that story, but it came to life. I swear to God, if he is real, I'm going with Elon Musk to Mars. This isn't even a joke. Moving on to number 8, we have the earthquake lights. This is something that occurs sometimes before, during, or after large earthquakes. Basically, blue, white, or multicolored lights have been seen flashing in the sky. The lights only lasted a few seconds, but the longest it has lasted has been a minute. Now, these lights aren't new. They have been reported back to around 373 BCE. The majority of reports, though, come from the 20th century. It's pretty weird, and no one knows what causes it. In fact, scientists didn't even believe this was a thing until somebody captured it on video. 2010, Chilean journalist Cecilia Lagos witnessed the earthquake lights. She said, and I quote, "I saw through my window while I was still in bed. I saw the sky changing colors. It was absolutely surreal. I really thought it was the end of the world. That was the most terrifying thing, seeing the sky change colors." Now, there are some theories as to what causes it. One is that it's a result of rocks grinding against each other. Maybe it creates an electrical charge that makes the sky glow. Others believe that it's a warning sign sent from heaven that an earthquake is about to happen. Coming in at number 7, we have the black birds. Back in 2011, thousands of blackbirds in Arkansas dropped dead just after New Year's. Residents woke up to find thousands of dead red-winged blackbirds just laying on the ground. The dead birds on the road went on for miles. and residents were freaking out, which is totally understandable because I would have been like, yo, that's a bad omen, the world's about to end. Anyways, a town supervisor got the call and had to go clean up the birds. He said he cleaned up anywhere from 4,000 to 5,000 dead birds. Isn't that crazy? And to this day, we don't know what made these birds all of a sudden just drop dead. Theory one is that the birds were killed by lightning or a high-altitude hailstorm, whereas conspiracy theorists believe that it was a result of a sonic boom. Now, they did end up taking some of the birds in for testing, but they still couldn't determine their cause of death. In our sixth spot today, we have the Patum Crater. This is the name of a giant crater located in Siberia. It's about 520 feet wide and 139 feet tall, and we literally don't know how it formed or what the heck happened. The crater was first officially reported in 1949 by a Russian geologist, but it dates back to over 500 years ago. Some believe that it formed as a result of a nuclear explosion or a steam explosion that happened back in the day when things shifted around in the Earth's core. Then others believe it to be more paranormal. Locals have noticed that the area surrounding it is dead. Nothing will grow there. On top of that, animals refuse to go anywhere near it. So they believe something spooky or sinister is going on with this crater thing. We're now at our fifth and halfway mark with the Naga fireballs. Every year, hundreds of fireballs explode out of Thailand's Mekong River. Since then, they have been given the name the Naga fireballs. You heard me. Fireballs coming out of a river, which seems impossible since fire and water don't mix. Anyways, this typically happens a couple of days in October and May when the Earth is closest to the sun. According to the locals, the river is home to a big serpent that breathes fire. Fireballs that come out of the river are like serpents out of its mouth. In fact, a number of people have claimed to see the serpent and provided a number of photos for evidence. Sadly, the other explanation is that they are caused by pockets of methane bubbling up from the river. But as I mentioned before, we still don't know for sure. In our fourth spot today, we have the UFO battle. In 1942 in Los Angeles, something flew over the skies. Now, the country was on high alert at this time because of the attack on Pearl Harbor, so they were monitoring everything very carefully. When the thing flew over the sky, they shot at it with 1,500 shells, and it still managed to stay in the sky. When the shots were fired, people woke up and were like, whoa, what's going on? That's when they saw weird lights in the sky along with a spaceship. To this day, no one knows what they really saw. The government was like, oh, no, it's just a weather balloon. Yeah, you guys are just freaking yourself out. But if it was a weather balloon, why were they firing at it? And how come no wreckage of the balloon was ever found? Just saying, guys, just saying. In our third spot, we have spontaneous human combustion. Now, I've talked about this briefly before with the case of Matilda Rooney, a woman who literally just exploded one night, like somehow a fire started within her and then boom. Well, this isn't the first time that it happened. It also happened in 1951 with a woman named Mary Reeser. One day, a man was delivering her mail. He tried the doorknob and noticed that the handle was warm. He also noticed that her apartment was warm, which was odd because all the windows were open. When he entered the apartment, nothing inside was weird or out of place. But there was a pile of ashes in the corner and Mary's left foot. That's all that was left of Mary. Isn't that so weird? Somehow she into thin air. For her to turn into a pile of ashes like that, she would have had to have been in a 3,000-degree fire that burned for several hours. So, that's just freaky. In our second spot today, we have the Belmont Faces. In 1971, a woman named Maria Gomez was cleaning up her kitchen when she noticed a stain forming on her concrete kitchen floor. Later, the stain developed into a creepy, disturbing face. Not only that, but the stain would move positions on the floor. Maria tried to scrub the face away, but it did not work. In fact, her husband ended up destroying the concrete floor and then re-cementing it all. The face mysteriously ripped it off. When images of these weird stained faces appeared all over the house. Later, the floor under the kitchen was excavated and they found 10 skeletons buried underneath there. So could it be their faces that were appearing all over the house? To this day, the stained faces are still there and no one knows how they formed. And in our number one spot, we have Betty and Barney Hill. This is one of the most famous alien abduction stories of all time. So husband and wife Barney and Betty Hill were driving home one night after having a vacation at Niagara Falls. It was September 19th, 1961, and everything was going well for the two. That was until around midnight when they saw this weird, bright, falling star in the sky. Then they were like, okay, whoa, it's not a falling star. It looks like it's following us, whatever it is. So Barney pulled over, and sure enough, this bright thing was coming right at them. When it got closer, they saw humanoids inside of a rotating 40-foot-long UFO. The next thing they remember is hearing a bunch of beeps, and then they passed out. They woke up 2 hours later and were 35 miles down the road from where they originally pulled over. They reported what happened to them, and obviously people were skeptical, but a lot of things proved otherwise. Both Barney and Betty had scrapes on the top of their shoes, suggesting they had been dragged. Betty also had these marks on her dress as well, and they underwent a series of interviews, and everything they said always matched. To this day, we don't know what to think. Did they really get abducted by aliens? If they didn't, then what the heck happened to them? Alright guys, that's all for today's video. Let me know in the comments below which one of these little stories creeped you out the most. And now, speaking of comments, let's move on to our comment shout-out portion. I'll be shouting out comments from the video, top 10 places more contaminated than Chernobyl. Dallas Gibson commented, hey, LOL at this cool thing I stole. Starts the next big radioactive incident. You know, I've messed up before, but nothing like this dude, LMAO. Yeah, honestly, they screwed a lot of people over, let's just say that. So don't steal, folks. Don't steal. John Stiles commented, imagine if this begins the zombie apocalypse. No. No. Just no. It's not happening. And if it does happen, see ya. Renoke Love commented, I like your tank top on you. What brand is the shirt? It's cute, but I can't make out the designer. Honestly, you guys should know by now, everything that I wear is thrifted, so if you're like, oh, that's cute, where's it from? Probably Value Village. It's a thrift store in Canada. Or like, you know. Anyway, I also sell vintage clothes if you want to buy it. Okay, so, alright guys, that's all the comments I'm shouting out for today's video. Make sure to comment something down below for a chance to be featured in my next comment shout out. And as always, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to the most amazing top 10 for more amazing videos. I've been your host, Lindsay Ivan, and I will see you when I can. So husband and wife Barney and Betty Hill were Barney and Betty Hill. I don't know why I had an accent there. That's all that was left of Mary. Happiness is here. Now, getting the things you want all without credit is a cinch. Introducing the Instant Happiness app from Rent-A-Center. Download it today and you can get instantly approved for up to $3,000 in merchandise. Then shop for anything you want at Rent-A-Center.com. Go on, get happy. Download the Rent-A-Center Instant Happiness app now and see how much you can get approved for.
With the Pokemon Surprise Attack game, you can have exciting Pokemon battles anytime, anywhere. Choose a Pokemon to send in, select an attack disc, get ready to battle. And reveal! The most powerful attack wins! With Junior and Master Trainer rules and tons of figure and attack disc combinations. The Pokemon Surprise Attack game is an exciting test of your skills as a Pokemon trainer. Pokemon Surprise Attack game from Jazzwares.
This episode is sponsored by Hawthorne. What is going on, Disney fans? My name is John Solo, and a week from today, Disney is releasing Cruella, the origin story for one of the most infamous and despised villains they've ever put on screen, Cruella de Vil, the fur-obsessed sociopath who would happily strangle 100 puppies just to get a few compliments on the coat she makes from their fur. She's evil to the core with absolutely no redeeming qualities, unless you're into that sort of thing. And since Disney wanted to explore the origins of the She-Witch and what she could have possibly gone through to make her so psychotic, I thought I would explore the origins of the movie that made her so famous. The 1961 animated classic 101 Dalmatians and the 1996 live-action. You might be surprised to hear that both films were based on a full-length children's novel of the same name. It was written back in 1956 by Dodie Smith, who you probably won't be surprised to hear was obsessed with Dalmatians. At one point, she and her husband had 9 of them, and when they were hosting a little get-together, a friend actually commented that her dogs would make a lovely fur coat. Definitely not a normal thing to say, but in this case, I'm glad because it inspired Dodie to write the fun, charming, and exciting novel that led to the creation of those Disney classics. But don't let those descriptors fool you, Solo fam. This book is as dark as a Dalmatian spots. And if you thought the Disney DeVilles were evil, just wait until you get a load of Dodie's. Today I'm going to be breaking down her original story and inspired, while also drawing connections to the parts of each movie it inspired. Before I get into it though, I've got to give a shout out to Hawthorne. The villain of the big story is obsessed with what she wears, but there's a reason she's the villain. You had it all wrong. Sure, fashion is important, but if you really want to look and feel your best, you gotta take care of your skin and hair. Which is why I'm so excited to tell you about the beauty sponsor, Hawthorne. They're a premium men's grooming brand that tailors your personal care routine to your unique profile. You start out by taking a quiz about yourself, where you answer questions about your skin and hair type, type of deodorant you use, kind of scents you prefer, and what your daily routine entails. It gets pretty in-depth, but only takes a few minutes, and at the end you get a list of products that are tailored to your body type and lifestyle. I decided to start my membership off with a strong foundation and went with the Essentials bundle. It came with a bunch of useful stuff for a desert dweller like myself, including hydrating face cleanser, body lotion, and, wait for it, sunscreen from a face. I also got these working plate colognes with great. I'm a grown man without colognes, so now I'm totally covered no matter what the occasion. And what I really love about Hawthorne, besides their products giving me great results and smelling how Zeus probably smelled, as my wife put it, is that if you somehow don't like what they send you, you can return it for free and they'll send you something else. With how easy Hawthorne makes the process, there's no reason not to give them a chance. Go to hawthorne.co and click the quiz to get your personalized self-care routine. Then use promo code JohnSolo to get 10% off your entire first order. That's HAWTHORNE.co, promo code JohnSolo. Hawthorne.co, promo code JohnSolo. And we're back. So, let's get started. If you haven't already, I would greatly appreciate you hitting that like button because it really does help the channel grow. Subscribe to have new messed up content like this delivered to your sub box every week. Now, the messed up origins of 101 Dalmatians. So there are 2 things you should probably know before I start this breakdown. One, for the first time in I don't know how long, maybe ever, I am not doing a recap of either Disney film. The reason for that is, as a whole, their plots are pretty similar to the book, but tremendously redundant to explain them whole. So instead, I'm just going to break down the book story and point out the similarities and differences to the movie variants as we go along. And 2, because I don't think I'm going to get very far before she tries to make an appearance anyway, I want to introduce you to the newest and fluffiest member of the Solo fam. Everybody, meet Penny. We were originally going to follow in DeVille's footsteps and make a coat out of her, but she turned out to be way too tiny for that, so she's just going to be our personal Disney princess instead. And actually, not long after we got her, we realized that there was an actual dog named Penny in 101 Dalmatians, so pretty appropriate time for her to make her debut. So now that that's all out of the way, let's get into the story. Chapter 1 opens by introducing the reader to Pongo and Mrs. Pongo, a married couple of dogs living in London who are owned by a married couple named Mr. and Mrs. Dearly, though according to Pongo and Mrs., the ownership goes the other way around. Now, as you can see, unlike both films where Pongo essentially rigs a meet cute in the park and the couple falls in love at first sight, this story starts with them being together and their home life is quite a bit different than those versions. Instead of Mr. Dearly being a struggling musician named Roger Radcliffe, or even more bizarre, a struggling video game designer from America, he's described as a financial wizard who helped the UK's government fix the national debt, and as a result was lent a house and exempted from paying taxes. Also living in their house is their 2 childhood nannies, Nanny Cook and Nanny Butler, who are condensed into the singular characters in both films. One day, while the couple takes a walk with Pongo and Mrs., they happen to run into classmate from Bill, apparently expelled from school for drinking tea. Now, don't get me wrong, that is a crazy thing to do, but the expulsion seems a little harsh. The cartoon also describes Cruella as an old schoolmate of Mrs. Dearly's, but in the live-action adaptation, she's her boss at the fashion brand House of Bell. In fact, it's actually Anita sketching that inspires Cruella to make a Dalmatian coat in the first place, where in the book she gets the idea just by seeing the dogs in person. As for the cartoon, she seems to know about the puppies before she even makes her first appearance, meaning that she barges into the house and starts bringing people around for them like I do whenever I lose my wife in the grocery store. So after ruining the couple's afternoon walk and seeing their beautiful Dalmatians, Cruella insists that they follow her inside her house and meet her husband. He's a furrier, and it's that she makes the extremely appropriate comment, "Wouldn't those dogs make excellent fur coats?" Now, for reasons I can't explain, the entire husband character is left out of the cartoon. However, in the live-action film, we get the Skinner in his place. He's not married to Cruella, but he is the guy who makes all of her coats for her. In the next chapter, the Dearlys, who aren't given the first names Roger and Anita like in the movies, are forced to go to a dinner party at Cruella's where everything tastes like pepper. And then, because they're polite, they invite the Devil woman, to their house for dinner the following night. The Dearlys dinner party ends early though, because the pregnant Mrs. Pongo has gone into labor. Everyone leaves except for Cruella, who demands to see the puppies. Only when she sees them, she's horrified to see they don't have any spots, and says they all must be drowned at once, just like she drowns the kittens of her Persian cat, because she's always mating with strays. Yeah, we're only 2 chapters in, and this nutjob is already bragging about drowning kittens. You guys are in for a ride even wilder than Mr. Toads. Anyway, Cruella's kicked out, and Mrs. goes on to have 15 puppies that night. Just like in the movies, one of them almost dies until Mr. Toad massaged it for hair in his mom. At least I think that's what he's. It's either that or dark magic. Now, while it is unlikely, it's actually not uncommon for Dalmatians to have litters of 15 puppies. In fact, the author herself experienced that with her own Dalmatians. But a litter of that size is a lot of work for the puppies. The Dearlys went searching for a foster mother to help with the feeding, and it's here that we're introduced to the Perdita. In the movies, Perdita and Mrs. are condensed into a single character and named Perdita, which I think makes sense for that format. But in the book, the entirety of Chapter 3 is about the search for Perdita and her backstory. Basically, she was a farmer's dog who ran away from her home in the country to find herself a husband. And once in town, she came across a rather handsome liver-spotted Dalmatian, and it was love at first sight for the both of them. They ran into the woods together, made sweet puppy love, and agreed to marry, but their owners tracked them down and dragged them back to their respective homes. Perdita went on to give birth to a litter of her own Dalmatian puppies out on the farm, and they came out beautifully. So beautifully, the farmer sold them without her knowledge. When Perdita woke up to find the puppies missing, she left home to find them and was unsuccessful. By the time she gave up on her search, she was starving, it was storming, and she was covered in mud. It wasn't until Mrs. Dearly almost hit her with her car that she was rescued and brought home. Or should I say, brought to her new home. And the plot twist, because Perdita was so covered in mud when she found her, Mrs. Dearly didn't realize she was a Dalmatian until they washed her off. Then, after eating some food to restore her strength, Perdita was able to use the milk that would have originally gone to her own babies. After about 2 weeks, the pups start developing their spots as well as their personalities and are given names to reflect that. The prettiest pup was the small one that Mr. Dearly saved. They called her Cat Pig because that's Mr. for the runt in a pig litter. In the movie, though, they make her a boy and call her Lucky, which is a bit confusing because Lucky is a separate dog in the book and actually the smartest of them all, though he does have a horseshoe of spots like in the movie. Other puppies include a little fat boy named Roly-Poly and Max, almost solid black along with one side of his face, which apparently makes him less valuable. So in both movies, Cruella makes a big show of trying to buy the puppies and does not hide her rage when she's turned down.
I'm through with all of you. I'll get even. Just wait. You'll be sorry. You fool. You idiot. I'm through with all of you. I'll get you. You'll be sorry.
Then, after being rejected, her cronies, Horace and Jasper, force their way into the house when the Dearlys aren't home and lock the nanny away while they make off with the pups. In the book, she's a lot more subtle with her plan. Instead of loudly swearing revenge when her attempt to buy them is turned down, she simply visits the house with the Dearlys and Nanny Butler out on a walk and distracts Nanny Cook while her cronies, Saul and Jasper butt in and steal the pups from the fenced-in backyard where they were playing. Now, a detail consistent across all versions of the story is that Mr. Dearly puts big, expensive ads for the missing dogs on the front pages of the newspaper, which helps spread awareness. But when those ads don't result in any new leads, Pongo resorts to gossip chain known as the Twilight Barking, which is basically a play on the fact that one dog's bark can set off an entire neighborhood of dogs. The way it goes down is that Pongo and Mrs. heads for a walk while Perdita hangs out with the nanny. So when they get to the top of a hill, they bark to any dogs within earshot to let them know their puppies are missing. Any dogs who hear, which in this case is like in the cartoon, pass it along, and in just a few hours, 480 dogs have relayed the message 60 miles out from London. The following night, a sheepdog known as the Colonel, who had heard the Twilight barking and knew all about the missing puppies, just so happened to be walking by an old abandoned mansion in Suffolk when a white bone with SOS carved into it flew over the gate and landed in front of him. After sending his friend, the tabby cat, into the mansion to see what was up and almost getting her killed in the process, she reported to him that the house was seething with Dalmatian puppies. He promptly reported it back to London by way of the Twilight barking, and Pongo and Mrs. responded that they would be leaving to rescue their babies that night. And that is exactly what happens. They eat a full-size dinner to ready themselves, tell Perdita to watch over the Dearlys while they're gone since she's still too weak to join them, and after everyone's gone to sleep, they sneak out through an open window. In the cartoon, we're sort of left to assume they snuck out because they don't receive the message until late in the night, and in the next scene they're in the park talking to the Great Dane. But in the 1996 version, Pongo and Perdita receive the message in the middle of the day and break out of the house in full view of everyone. Serious question though, what is that button? Never in my life have I seen a house with that setup. Were those a real thing at one point, or is this part of the weird movie universe that Disney made up? Anyway, back to the book. After traveling a few miles and stopping to rest, Pongo reveals the entirety of what he heard through the Twilight barking, since Mrs. couldn't make it all out. The place where their puppies were found is called Hell Hall and is owned by the DeVille family, which means their puppies were most likely stolen to be made into coats by Cruella's husband. Naturally, Mrs. was horrified to hear this, but it gives her the strength to continue on into the cold and dark winter night. So the next few chapters detail the journey of Pongo and Mrs. as they cross the English countryside. And while they are interesting to read, they are not going to be very entertaining for me to break down. Not to mention, there isn't much to compare. The animated movie pretty much skips over their whole adventure, minus a battle with the elements, and the only bit we get in the live-action one is a bird helping them cross an electric fence. To put it simply, though, their journey has the same vibes as the 1925 Serum run to Nome, Alaska. And if you don't know what I'm referring to, that means you definitely didn't watch my video about Balto, and for that, I can never forgive you. Essentially, food and hospitality from Pongo and Mrs. is arranged across their entire route, with any dogs they meet being as kind, helpful, and respectful as possible, for the parents who are just trying to save puppies. They run into a few snags, like a little kid throwing rocks at Pongo and injuring his leg, but by the beginning of chapter 10, they finally run into the same tabby cat who found their puppies in Hell Hall. She happily reports that she just saw the puppies yesterday and that they're as lively and fat as ever, then leads them to the Colonel. But on the way there, they catch a glimpse of the DeVille residence, which is the scariest house that either of them had ever seen. It was all black and the windows were mostly bricked up, which gave the house a look similar to a distorted, screaming face. Next, they meet the Colonel, who they thought was going to be a dapper military man, but instead was a grizzly war veteran, and he updates them on everything he knows about the situation. It's here that we get a little history lesson on Hell Hall and Cruella DeVille's ancestors, and brace yourself because this gets real weird. The legend is that an ancestor of Cruella's bought the house from a farmer named Hill who had gotten into debt, and his plan was to convert it into a castle. But he'd only gotten so far as to build the outside wall when the villagers from the nearby town grew concerned over the screams and maniacal laughter that came from behind the gate. So they formed an angry mob and planned to storm the premises. But suddenly a thunderstorm came out of nowhere and put all the torches out. Then the gates flew open of their own accord, and DeVille drove through them while emitting forked blue lightning. Naturally, everyone freaked out and ran away, and no one returned to the property, including the original DeVille. The family still owns the place, but Cruella allows the Baddens to live there rent-free, something I'm not very confident in. Now, Pongo and Mrs. actually fell asleep that history lesson, but they're suddenly woken up by the sound of puppies barking because the Baddens had finally let them into the gated yard playtime. Only something was a bit off. There wasn't just 15 puppies, there was close to 100. And here's where the Pongos come to understand the full extent of this rescue mission. It wasn't just about their puppies anymore, but the puppies of other Dalmatian parents all across England. Now they would never ever be saved while Cruella de Vil continued to breathe. Or at the very least work in fashion. So with the Pongos now fully aware of their scheme to turn every Dalmatian within reach into a coat, the stakes are higher than ever. They formulate an escape plan that's pretty similar to the cartoon, in only a few more steps. So in order for Cruella to maximize the amount of coats she can make from these dogs, she has to wait for them to grow in size, which means they're safe for the time being. Just like how the animated Babbitts are obsessed with TV, and in particular a show called What's My Crime, these Babbitts are the exact same way. So the Colonel wanted to continue watching over the pups from a safe distance in order to wait for them to grow big and strong enough to make the journey home. Meanwhile, whenever the Babbitts would flop their malnourished butts in front of that silver screen at night, Bucky was keeping the puppies outside and train them for the journey ahead. It's a solid strategy that Pongo and Mrs. really appreciate because they're able to reunite with their pups and enjoy some quality time with them before making a break for them. Except they don't get nearly as much time together as they anticipated. Only a few hours into their reunion, Cruella shows up at the house and tells her minions the police are on their trail and they have to kill the puppies tonight. And this is a part that both films were surprisingly faithful to. In the books, the Babbitts ask how they should kill the pups, and she says, poison them, drown them, hit them on the head. Have you any chloroform in the larder? And Saul responds, not a drop, no ether either. Meanwhile, the movies go down like this. How are we gonna do it?
Any way you like to poison them, drown them, smash them in the head. Tiny chloroform!
Not a drop, no ether. Ether either.
Drown them. That's on the head. I don't care how you kill them if they just do it, and do it now!
Pretty crazy, right? Similarities like this are peppered in all throughout both films, though in this specific instance, the live-action version proceeds to go off in its own direction. What I mean by that is by the time Cruella even makes the call to the Skinner, the puppies are being rounded up and escorted out by the Allies. Meanwhile, the bad guys just get their asses kicked for the rest of the entire movie. Sorry, I try not to swear in my Disney videos, but that's exactly what happens. The Babbitts fall through floors, get hypothermia, fall balls first onto an electric fence. The Skinner literally has a chunk bitten out of his ass. And Cruella, well, she gets it worse than anybody. From being kicked by a horse to being catapulted into a pig pen. And you know what that's filled with. Also, no joke, up until I started working on this episode, the only thing I remembered about this movie is the one clip where Cruella falls into a vat of brown stuff, because it always played in the trailer. I've spent my entire life wondering what that brown stuff was.
Molasses,
Now I know
my boy,
it's molasses, which is scarier than anything I could have imagined. I mean, those air pockets, man, that freaks me out. As for the cartoon and book, though, after Cruella gives her orders to execute the pups and leaves, the Babbitts decide to wait until after they watch their favorite show, What's My Crime, which I guess is supposed to be a parody of an actual game show called What's My Line. And this gives our hero puppies enough time to be escorted out of the house by the parents. And it's actually kind of funny, in the book, Lucky is the most intelligent of his siblings, so the Colonel puts him in charge of disciplining them, teaching them to follow orders. But in the cartoon, Lucky replaces Cat. He almost dies and then grows up to not only be the most obsessed with TV, but his everlasting love for those moving pictures is almost what spoils the whole plan. In fact, he's kind of the scrub in the 1996 version as well. After the other puppies make their escape, he's left behind and has to be rescued from the Skinner at the last minute. I mean, I know they're just movies, but you gotta wonder why Disney did him so dirty. Anyway, Chapter 12 ends with the pups being escorted to a nearby barn where they all fall asleep for the night, and with the Colonel seeing the glow of the Babbitts' lanterns floating across the field as they search for their invaluable missing cargo. Okay, so the majority of the Dalmatians' journey home is not detailed in the movie, save for the very end. But there are a few connections, like them stopping in a barn full of cows so they can fill up on milk. Before that happens, though, remember they're making this trip in the middle of winter, on Christmas Eve in fact, so the conditions are not easy for the puppies to handle, especially in bad weather. So, the Colonel borrows a little blue card from his pet, 5-year-old boy Tommy, who happens to understand just a little bit of dog language, and the cat is pushed along in it by some of the bigger, stronger pups. Unfortunately, the Colonel does have to dip out not long after this because he can't leave his pets behind while traveling across the country. Lucky for the Dalmatians, shelter and food have been arranged for the next few days via the Midnight Garden. In the next chapter, they're about a half mile out from their next stop when they run into a caravan of gypsies, which is concerning because gypsies were known to steal valuable dogs. Not only that, but Dalmatians were one of their favorites because they're smart and can train to do tricks for money. After spotting them, the gypsies do their best to surround the dogs and trap them in a field, but little did they know that horses have a natural affinity for the breed, as Dalmatians used to run alongside them when horse and buggies were the primary mode of transportation. So the horses that pulled their caravan pulled a sly one and unlocked the gate to the field while the gypsies were waiting for the Dalmatians to come out the other side, and this allowed the dogs to escape to a nearby bakery. Now, you remember that part of the movie where the Dalmatians are at that old blacksmithing place and they roll around in soot to disguise themselves and get on the moving truck to go home, aka my favorite part of the game on Windows 98? Well, they also don disguises in the book, but it's just for good measure. The moving truck doesn't come up until the next chapter. After leaving the bakery/chimney sweeps, they slowly make their way to the next town where they take shelter in a barn. At least the pups thought it was a barn. In reality, they hid out to church, but at no point do they realize that, because even though all dogs go to heaven, they don't necessarily understand the concept of religion. Skipping ahead just a little bit, as the dogs approach the next village, their would-be host runs out to meet them and says the bakery where they were going to be staying, and that was also filled with their food, is currently on fire, and they have nowhere to go. And to make things worse, from a distance, the Dalmatians see Cruella standing on top of her car, cheering the fire on like the maniac that she is, so they have to find an alternate route fast. As they're walking along the main road in complete view of anyone who drives down it, Pongo tells Perdita they'll need some kind of miracle to stay hidden, and not long after, that miracle presents itself in the form of a moving truck. There just so happens to be a Staffordshire sitting shotgun while his pets finish unloading the truck in a nearby house. And after Pongo explains their situation, he happily lets them all die since they're dark enough that the owners won't see that. I would be remiss if I didn't also mention that there's an intense moment soon after where Pongo, Mrs., and all 97 of their puppies are forced to close their eyes as Cruella drives down the road and passes the truck. Otherwise, she would see 99 pairs of eyes with blood in their headlight back. It's a totally different kind of intensity compared to the movie scene where DeVille and the Baddens try chasing the van down and even running it off the cliff before crashing into each other. But Dodie does an amazing job of stretching those few minutes out, so you're just waiting in suspense, not knowing if one of the pups will figure the whole thing out. Fortunately, they all follow their father's orders and close those peepers up tight, and not long after, the movers return to the van and start driving back to London. And I'm happy to report the Miracle on Wheels brought them safely across the 50 or so remaining miles of their journey. And after sneakily making their way out of the van thanks to the Staffordshire distracting the movers, Pongo and Mrs. lead the way back to Regent's Park where the Dearleys live. On their way, though, they came across Cruella's house, where they also happened to run into her Persian cat. You know, the one that won't stop getting pregnant and basically forces Cruella to drown 44 of her kittens. Yeah, that one. Well, it turns out that cat has been holding a grudge for a while and knew all about the she-demon's plot to make Dalmatian goats. And because she's such a cool cat, she invites all 99 of them inside to get some revenge, while Cruella is at a dinner party somewhere. Using skills he learned from the Colonel, Pongo's able to unlock the door to the room filled with all the notes Mr. DeVille had made over the years for the dogs and cats to tear them to shreds. The dogs were able to sneak out just before Cruella and her husband got back, but they lingered around to hear them again. It was just lovely. They both started off immediately from all the danger that was in the air, and when they realized what happened, Cruella shrieked like a banshee. That was all the dogs needed to hear, though, so the family headed home. So now we get to the review. The version of the story does it a little bit different. The 1996 version is definitely the most far off. In it, the Dalmatians are found by authorities while they're walking across the fields and promptly brought to the Dearly. It makes surprisingly little convincing to accept all 99 puppies, especially when you consider how people would be clamoring to adopt the puppies from the famous Disney Dalmatian case that was in all the papers. In the cartoon, we get a sad little look at the Dearly's dogless Christmas when they suddenly come running through the door, and then Amy realizes in 2 seconds that the black dogs are really the Dalmatians covered in soot. However, in the book, it takes a little more strategy. Pongo and Mrs. bark at the Dearly's window and tell all their puppies to wait in the shadows so they don't get overwhelmed by the sight of 99 dogs. Only because they're covered in black, the Dearlys don't recognize them and tell them to run home. Pongo and Mrs. have to bark multiple times to get Mr. Dearly out of the house, and as soon as he opens the door, all those puppies were ordered to march inside like they owned the place. Then Pongo told them to roll on the floor to get the soot off, and the nannies and Dearlys finally realized they had themselves a Christmas miracle. Their dogs made it home. And a fun little twist is that Perdita's 8 puppies who were taken from her in the beginning were among those 97 pups they rescued. Also, Cruella's cat just shows up and says she's going to live with the Dearlys from now on and gives us an update on the DeVille household. Apparently, most of the coats that were destroyed weren't paid for yet, so Cruella and her husband are financially ruined and have to leave London to escape their debts. Their new business plan is for Mr. DeVille to make plastic raincoats, which I guess you would say isn't quite as extravagant as fur. And you're gonna love this. The shock of seeing all of her destroyed furs made the black side of Cruella's hair turn white and the white side turn green. So now you know where Billie Eilish got her inspiration from. And now we find ourselves on the final chapter titled The 101th Dalmatian. Some of you may have thought my count earlier was a little off. I kept saying 99 dogs, 97 puppies, and you might have been thinking, but wait, if you include the parents and Perdita, that's still only 100. Well, Chapter 18, which is basically an epilogue, is where the missing piece finally comes in. Now, the Dearlys soon learned that having 100 dogs would mean they needed a much bigger place. In the cartoon, they solved this problem using the money Roger Radcliffe made off his Cruella DeVille song being a huge hit on the radio. In the live-action movie, Roger Dearly has success with a video game he made that features Dalmatian protagonists, and Cruella is the antagonist. So in both versions, she ends up being the butt of the joke. She despised Roger and thought he was a loser, but he makes a ton of cash by clowning him. In the book, though, he simply lets the government get out of debt a second time, really stipend as a thank you, and the new money allows him to buy and renovate Hell Hall. You see, the Baddens were both arrested when they assaulted the man who came to repossess their TV, which had never been paid for, so there was a vacancy. Soon after moving in, they painted the whole thing white, except for the bricked-up windows, which they left painted black, so now the house looked like a Dalmatian. That is not the final Dalmatian, though. Actually, in a weird twist of fate, the owners of Perdita's long-lost husband, Prince, rolled up to the property, presumably because they wanted to check out the Dalmatian plantation. As soon as Prince saw Perdita, he went crazy with excitement, and the owners left him with the Dearlys because they saw how happy being there made him. And the story ends with one last addition to the family, a TV, which makes the cat pig very, very happy. So that, Solo fam, was the messed up origins of 101 Dalmatians, and I'd say Disney did a solid job converting it into an animated format without losing the original's charm. The live-action version, while still great, didn't honor the source material quite as much, but I think that's because Disney was basing it more off the cartoon. Overall, it's better than their recent attempts at live-action remakes, though, so I'm really curious how Cruella is gonna turn out. But this wouldn't be messed up to talk about all the depressing things that inspired or happened as a result of this story, so buckle your seatbelts and grab conditions. Now, firstly, I'm happy to say that unlike other authors, like Hans Christian Andersen and Rudyard Kipling, there wasn't any child abuse or borderline slave labor in Dodie Smith's personal life, at least not that I can find. Simply a lifelong artist who loved Dalmatians and wrote a story starring them after her friend made that weird comment. However, I do want to talk about the impact that Disney's reimaginings of her book had on the well-being of Dalmatians in America. A lot of parents who saw the movie and wanted to put smiles on their kids' faces bought Dalmatian puppies without realizing how much work the breed actually is. They are very high energy and need a lot of room to play around, as is evidenced by the end of the movie. Most families just couldn't take care of them, so they were either abandoned out in the country and had to find their own way to survive, or were dropped off at the kennels. We don't know exactly how many dogs this happened to, thank God, because I'd probably break down and cry, but according to the American Kennel Club, registrations of Dalmatians decreased by about 90% from 2000 to 2010 after the craze around the 96 release and its sequel around 2000 had died down. Speaking of the sequel, though, all three variants that we discussed today have a second installment. There's the aforementioned 102 Dalmatians, 101 Dalmatians 2, Patch's London Adventure, and the Starlight Bargain, all of which have plots that could not be more different than each other, so don't expect a sequel to this episode anytime soon. As a matter of fact, I think that's where I'm going to wrap this episode up. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you made it to this point, comment your thoughts about the story and your favorite dog breed down below. I know, they're all amazing, but you've got to have a favorite. Also, this episode took a lot of work. I had to put 101% of my brain power into this thing, so if you'd be so kind as to hit those like and subscribe buttons, that'd be pretty cool. Only if you actually liked it and want to subscribe, though. If you thought the video sucked or you're just not into this kind of content normally, then you can go on your merry way. My feelings won't be hurt, because I know you're wrong. Anyone who wants to stay updated on Messed Up Origins news or send suggestions my way, I recommend following me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, especially because YouTube system is beyond broken at this point. And if this behemoth of a video wasn't enough dog for you, follow this beautiful boy on Instagram. His sister's fur would probably make a better coat, but he's good for some laughs at the very least. I'll see you folks again soon with even more Disney content, as well as some messed up mythology. Until that day comes, my name is John Solo, and remember, John shot first.
I'm gonna keep hold of southbounds. I'm gonna need some help.
The Irish are locking down the whole goddamn district, and we better maintain control from here on out. There'll be trouble always.
Look, I just gave you 2 districts back to back. Shut up. Next district I give up going to Sus now.
Clay, you any relation to the boxer?
Huh? Guess not, eh?
At Hilton, let's jump into memories best celebrated together, where time away means us time, and a goodnight kiss, where reunions become incredible nights, where breakfast is the sweetest part of the day. Let's jump into new memories. Book now at Hilton.com. To new memories, Hilton, and our family of brands.
The last time we saw the Abomination, he was going toe-to-toe with the Incredible Hulk in The Incredible Hulk. They, of course, had a giant brawl that took place in the middle of New York. Now he's been redesigned and makes a quick cameo in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings before his big return in She-Hulk. So let's talk about why exactly they decided to change up the design, because this time they can outright confirm it, and it's nothing really big, like at all, until you read between the lines and look at the history, and then you know why, and it's a little bit more interesting, which we'll go over that. So if you've gone out and watched Shang-Chi, which I really hope you have, and before people tell me in the comments it's not available in your country, I'm sorry. It's unfortunate, but hey, hopefully you'll see it soon, right? But yes, in that film, you see Abomination, you see Emil, he's back, and you get a little bit more than in the trailer, but that's really it. And we see that, yeah, we are very much more comic faithful, if you will, and that's kind of it, right? It's like, oh, he's been redesigned. He looks a lot more like the comics. Okay, well, and why? Well, the producer Jonathan Schwartz revealed to multiple outlets on why exactly this was made. And he said that it felt like it was just time for reflection. It was time to give him a better design, and a new design that's more fitting for the character. So of course that's the simple explanation, but you guys know that it's a little bit more complex, and I think most of you might know that's a little bit more complex, but there's some that don't. So of course it all goes back to the Incredible Hulk movie film, where that film in its development was literally going side by side with Iron Man. Iron Man was always tracking further ahead, and Incredible Hulk had a problem where it was a co-financed Universal thing to hang on to the distribution. Marvel Studios didn't originally have the money to make that film, but they decided to let Universal make it, but then Marvel would retain the character, and they would share distribution and some of the profits. It's all been covered. Look, it's complex, it's stupid, it doesn't matter anymore. What's important is that during that time, Marvel Studios did not have as much say over what happens in the film, the designs, the looks, the choices, the actor even. They always wanted Mark Ruffalo, but Universal opted to go with Edward Norton. And this is just one of many things that got in the way. Marvel Studios didn't want that Hulk design to look like that, but Universal and Louis Leterrier were like, well, we want it to look like this. So that's why you got the Hulk that we saw in The Incredible Hulk, which honestly still my favorite design of the Hulk in the MCU. So it's one of those things where Abomination falls into the same type of mindset. Universal didn't believe that the scene dragging Hedorah would be acceptable. And from their perspective, you understand, because everything
say?
real, quote unquote, to sell it to the audience. So they gave him a just design. But now he's got to change because Marvel Studios has their hands on it.
was still running the country. He also provided security for Sal's casinos. The two of them go way back.
Hold on, y'all.
हार जीत तो परिणाम है, कोशिश हमारा काम है। सारे बड़े मैंने इस कंट्री के लिए जीते हैं। जैसे तो मुझे यही चाहिए।
It's the end of Spider-Man. This is the comic story in general.
As soon as Zaraga hung up the phone, he called Sal and told him where he could find his nephew.
Which means I need to get down there before Marcano's men.
Sal's not gonna fuck around when it comes to Alvarez, so make sure your shit's squared away.
Now give me a sec. Because I technically need to be getting out of here, so... Sweet Jane Jones. I love y'all. Only thing will make this day perfect is if I had this much date with the wife. But I kind of did. Sat on the phone with her. So, trying to get my mind right. That tastes fucking horrible.
Get some guns on this target in the bayou?
Enough said. On our way.
You should just stay down now.
God damn!
Behind you! Behind you! Lambda slaughter.
God damn!
I'm bleeding.
Hold your fire! I'm here to help you! Come mierda! Váyanse todo para la pinga! You understand English? See? I killed the men outside. I only want to talk to you, so I'm gonna put my gun down, all right? If you try and fuck me, I kill you! Fair enough. You're the one who wants to kill me! I wasn't trying to kill you, I was trying to find you. Your uncle, he sold you out. He ain't coming to get you. You're lying. I just spoke to him, he said he was sending a boat. Wait, you think it's a coincidence that as soon as you got here, those greaseballs showed up? Zaraga called Marcano, told him where to find you. I must find a phone. Jesus, man, there's no one for you to call. Marcano was never gonna let you out of the city. He's gonna use you, and when he gets what he wants, he's gonna kill you. The only shot at getting out of this alive is me. What do you want from me? Tell me where Marcano's counterfeit operation is set up and we're square. Everything is, in a boxing ring that Tony Marcano owns, but it's already up and running. Yeah, that's all I need to know. Come on. It's time we got the hell out of here. Where are you taking me? I know someone who can get you out of the city. Make sure Marcano doesn't find you. Yeah. If you want to live through this, stick close to me. You understand? I see.
As I walk along, I wonder what went wrong with our love.
I can get us.
But was so strong.
If it'll get you out of here, sure. Just keep your head down. Need targets iced in the bayou.
Oh, don't shoot! He don't send me.
Gonna feed you to my fucking hog.
Ain't seen that ugly motherfucker.
Tears are falling and I feel a pain. I wish you were here by me.
Watch your ass!
To end that misery.
He's picking us off!
He's killing our
Main target's heist in the bayou.
You got it. We'll be around shortly.
That fucking height! I'm in the bayou and I need transportation.
Aye. I'll get her out to you right away.
Set of Hot Wheels just like you ordered.
Appreciate it.
I love that pink miniskirt. Thanks, Deb. Isn't it out of size? And those white patent leather thighs. Where'd you get them? Holton's department store. Holton's? I didn't know they had such fine friends. They carry all kinds of groovy styles from
Get this thing straight, mate!
I also got this mock turtleneck Dickies for Jimmy that was on sale. Dickies on sale? There's always great sales at Holton's. Holton's department store has more of what you're looking for. Who knew Holton's had it so together? Holton's department store.
Sunday! This Sunday, Stokes Beer brings hot rods and funny cars to Baton Rouge. Come see the action at the Smokin' Dixie Speedway. Sunday. 180-mile-an-hour top fuel dragsters, top fuel funny cars, factory hot rods.
That was the last of them. I think. Yeah, well, keep an eye out anyway. You could have killed me. Put a bullet in my head and still fuck Marcano. You got a question in there somewhere? Yeah. Why didn't you? Just didn't sit right. Look, you didn't do anything to me. As far as I can tell, you're just another person in the long line of folks Marcano's fucked over. Sometimes it's as simple as that. Okay? Thank you.
When the sun refused to shine, people tell me they hate when you still try. Now, my girl, you're so young.
¡Pedazo de mierda! ¡Que todos se mueran en un incendio, coño!
God.
Langan, what's going on?
I need your help getting this man out of the city. He's in a lot of trouble with Sal Marcano.
I don't.
Esta es la person. This who you told me about? Yeah, he's the one. Listen, Father, I'm really counting on you here. I got nowhere else I can take him.
Shit, all right. I know a Jesuit in New Mexico. He helps people in situations like...
What needs to happen right now? Marcano's gonna tear the city apart looking for him.
All right, I'll make the call. Pasa, por favor. Aquí estás a salvo.
Gracias. I appreciate this.
Alright, y'all. I am getting ready to get out of here. Peace and blessings. Y'all been real.
Twinkle Toes Tommy, hop in when you're ready.
Tommy Marcano brought in a counterfeiter from Cuba, right?
Sal spent a couple of months trying to print the money himself, but none of it was worth a damn. The color was wrong, printing was cockeyed, you name it. He needed someone who knew what the fuck they were doing. So he used his connections and found a man named Alvarez.
And this Alvarez was also counterfeiting money for Castro.
Most of our enemies counterfeit American money. Hell, some of our allies do too.
Sorry, he's gone. What do you mean, he's gone? All you had to do was drive down to the goddamn lighthouse and pick him up. It's not my fault Alvarez is running all over the goddamn place. I wanted to lock his ass up, but you wouldn't hear of it. The last thing we need is Zaraga finding out that we treated his nephew like dog shit. You understand? Then Lincoln Clay comes in shooting the shit out of everything.
Lincoln Clay. Lincoln Clay. I'm so sick and fucking tired of hearing about this cocksucker. He's just one man. A fucking nigga. We're skating a thin line here, Tommy. You understand? This thing falls apart. We fucked all of them.
So, what the fuck would you do?
What the fuck would I do? Listen here, this ain't rocket science. That fucking nigga got to Alvarez. It means he knows about the place. He's gonna come after him. You understand? Get your ass down to that motherfucking gym and protect them.
Yeah, sure. I'm on it.
This shit ends right here, right now. No more fuck-ups.
According to these reports, Tommy Marcano had the money press in a boxing gym he operated.
Tommy knew Lincoln was coming for the place, but he felt he had to keep up appearances. The second he started canceling fights and shutting the place down was the second people started thinking he was out of his league. He wasn't about to allow that to happen.
How did Lincoln Clay gain access to the gym?
He had me track down a man named Alcee Bennett. Alcee was a small-time hustler that worked for Sammy until he double-crossed him and was kicked out of the Hollow. After that, he scratched out a living recruiting fighters for Tommy's jungle fights. If he vouched for Lincoln at the door, Lincoln could get in without a big ruckus.
Alcee's by the briar patch, not far from here. I'll stop by and say hello, see how he's getting along. Have fun.
All right, y'all. And we will leave it at that. Catch y'all later.